All right, so let's begin. Can you work in the United States as an international student? Um, the good news is, yes, you can. There are specific eligibility requirements. You have to have decent grades, so you need to maintain a grade point average of at least 3.0 or more for graduate students. And if you're wanting to work at any point off campus, you'll have to come to GEO and we'll help you guide you through what types of authorizations that you need. Now, regarding work rules, it's very important to know your visa type. If most of you are probably here on an F1 visa, but some of you may also be here on J1 visas. And the types of work authorization and rules for working differ depending on those visa types. For both F1 and J1 students, there are two types of employment. The first type is on campus. That means that you're working for UNM or you're working for a business like a restaurant that is on UNM's campus. So all employment that takes place on the university campus is categorized as on-campus employment. And then the second type is off-campus. That's if you're working out in Albuquerque or elsewhere, not at UNM. To work on campus, you don't need any special work authorization. However, if you want to work off campus, then you are required to get a special type of work authorization that would enable you to do that. If you are in F1 status, then there are three types of off-campus work authorization. The first one is called Curricular Practical Training, or CPT. That work authorization allows you to work off campus while you're a student in your program at UNM. And then once you complete your coursework, you become eligible to apply to work full-time for 1 to 3 years in the United States after completing your program. That type of work authorization is known as OPT. OPT is generally for 1 year of work authorization, but if you're in STEM fields, that is science, technology, engineering, or math, you may be eligible to get a 2-year extension so that you would be able to work for 3 years after completing your coursework. The third type of work authorization for F1 students is severe economic hardship. For those of you who have J1 visas, the categories are similar. The first one is on-campus employment. That's all work done on UNM campus. And the second one is off-campus. For J1 visa types, the off-campus type of authorization is known as academic training. A frequent question that students have is, how much can I work? How many hours can I work while I'm a student at UNM? During the spring and fall semesters, you're allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus. You don't have to get any special authorization. If you get a job anywhere at UNM, then that would enable you to work 20 hours per week at that job, of course, while you're taking classes. During the summer and winter vacation periods, you can increase the number of hours that you work a week. And depending on your situation, you may be able to work full-time during the breaks, unless you're enrolled in summer classes. And in that case, you would be able to work a maximum of 30 hours a week. All right, we've talked about on-campus work, and for graduate students, there are different types of work that you can do. The first one is a graduate assistantship. Now, most of you, when you were admitted to the university, were probably already offered or not an assistantship. It's only available to graduate students, and the assistantships are offered to you by specific departments. The second type of graduate job that you may do at UNM is general student employment. like working at the library or the bookstore. All international students, all of you, are eligible to apply for and work in any student employment job at UNM. The third category of on-campus employment is called work-study. And unfortunately, international students are not eligible for work-study positions. Now, how do you get a job on campus? What kind of process do you have to go through? Unfortunately, it's relatively easy. The first thing that you're going to do is apply for the job. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to do that. But once you're offered a position, you're going to go through the Student Employment Office or Office of Graduate Studies if it's an assistantship, and you will need your passport, your I-20, and your I-94 in order to get your authorized to do that. J1 students will have to get a form from our office, and that will have to be updated and see this every year. But again, we can walk you through that process. Now, if you'd like to look for a student employment position at UNM, then if you just Google UNM jobs, it will take you to the website where all on-campus jobs for students are advertised. So if you go to UNM jobs, you're going to select student jobs, and then when student jobs open, there is a filter that asks you which campus. UNM has multiple campuses in the state of New Mexico, so you want to make sure that you're choosing jobs that are on the main campus so that you're working on the same campus where you're going to school. And then that will filter all the positions that are available at the main campus. And then you can go through the job titles and you just click on any of the positions that you're interested in applying for. When you open the position, it will have a student type. Remember, you can only apply for jobs that say student employment. If they are categorized as work study, you will not be eligible for that. But if they are categorized as student employment and you're interested in the position, all of the information will be listed on this page, and you simply hit apply and follow the instructions to apply for the position. Lots of students, international students, work right on UNM campus, and it's a great way to make some extra money and be able to work while you're going to school. Now, we're going to talk about working off campus. Working off of UNM campus is a little more complicated and does require special work authorization. There are 3 types of work authorization that you can get. And the first one is called Curricular Practical Training, or CPT. And as I already said, that enables you to work while you're going to school, while you're pursuing your degree. Again, as I already said, Optional Practical Training, or OPT, enables you to work full-time after you complete your coursework. So once you're done with the coursework for your program, you can then apply for full-time work authorization to work for 1 to 3 years after you complete your program. Everyone is eligible for 1 year of OPT, and students who meet the eligibility requirements in STEM fields, that is science, technology, engineering, or math, may be eligible for a 2-year STEM extension for a total of 3 years of work authorization. The third category is severe economic hardship, and that's for students who find themselves in extreme financial situations. The important thing to know about these types of work authorizations is that you are only eligible to work off campus after you've completed 1 academic year if you are in F1 status. So let me repeat that. If you are in F1 status, you are only eligible to work off campus after you have completed 2 semesters as a full-time student. So if you've transferred from another school where you've already completed 2 academic semesters, you may be eligible for this type of authorization. If you're a brand new student just arriving in the United States, then you won't be able to work off campus until you have completed your first 2 semesters. How do you know that you have these work authorizations and permission to work? Well, if you're in F1 status, the work authorization that you obtain, for example, to work off campus, will appear on page 2 of your I-20. And you can see on page 2, there's an employment authorization section, and any job that you have will be listed there with the dates that you are authorized to work at that specific job. Now, again, this is only for these types of work authorization. If you're working on UNM campus, this is not something that will be reflected on your I-20. If you are on a J visa, if you're coming in J1 status, then there's only one type of work authorization for off-campus work, and that is called academic training. And you're not eligible to work off campus if you're in J status until you've completed only 1 semester as a full-time student. So again, if you're a new student, you'll be eligible for this after you've completed 1 semester. And if you've transferred from another school, you may have already met that requirement. The amount of time that you're able to work depends on how long you've been in your degree program and how long you've been studying. And if you're interested in pursuing that, we can go over that with you and help you with that authorization. Just like F1's authorization appears on their I-20, J1 academic training work authorization also appears on the DS 2019. And what will be listed on the DS 2019 is the employer, the dates of authorization, and your employer will want to know that you've been authorized to do that position. So we also have an office at UNM called Career Services. They help students look for jobs. They can help you with job interviews, with writing applications, cover letters, resumes. So they're a wonderful resource. And when you arrive at UNM, we encourage you to visit Career Services as they have a lot of employment support and a great resource when it comes to working in the US. In order to work in the United States, once you get a job, you will have to get a Social Security number. You cannot get a Social Security number until you have been offered a job. Once you have a job offer, then you're going to need to get a Social Security number. In order to get a Social Security number, you're going to apply for one with the local Social Security office. It takes a little bit of time to get one. You can go ahead and start the position without one, and you have 2 pay periods in which to get one. And then once you've gotten your Social Security number, you provide that to your employer. Something to know about Social Security numbers, all Americans have them. You only get one Social Security number for a lifetime. So if you've ever gone to the school in the United States, if you've ever worked here and you had a Social Security number, or you get a Social Security number, that is the only Social Security number you will ever have in the United States for your lifetime. So if you were to go back to your home country and then you came back to the US 10 years from now and you wanted to work, you would have the same Social Security number. That will never change. To apply for a Social Security number, again, after you have a job offer, you'll need your passport, your I-20 if you're in F1 status, or your DS 2019 if you're in J1 status, your I-94, a UNM employment form signed by us if you're in J1 status, as well as the Social Security application form. And again, if you need to apply for a Social Security number after you've been offered a position, we are more than happy to help guide you through that process.